Okay, so I'm sitting here with Azat from Bashkiria. He's a journalist. He's been here since the very beginning of the conflict. He's seen so many different things. His friend was telling me about an encounter that they had with some children at an orphanage, and I've asked him to share this with you uh, because it's not something that I can relay. It's just something so incredibly powerful. It's got to come right from the source.
When we came to the village called Безыменное, it is just 10 or 20 kilometers from Mariupol. It was the same time when they arranged a camp for the refugees who were leaving Mariupol. And we talked to people from MTS, and they said that in one of those, in one of the tents in this camp, there are children from the orphanage, family orphanage from Mariupol. So it was late at night when they came to this tent and they started to talk to first to the grown-ups, then the children were interested as well. They came to take part in this conversation as well. And their stepmoms, as we can call these women, they told us these horrible stories that when they were sitting under the shelling in the basements of the orphanage, they didn't have any food, they didn't have any water, they were starving, basically. And when there was no other opportunity but to get out and risk their lives in search of something to eat, something to drink, they took two boys that were relatively older, 12 and 14 years old, and risking their lives, they went to search for food and for water. And one of those boys, his name is Sasha, he said that they managed to find some store where there was no one in the store, and they took some pasta in the store, a couple of packages, and they were on the way back and met an Azov guy on the way back. And this Azov guy took them at gunpoint and said, you either right now are going to give this pasta to them or he's going to shoot them. This pasta, yeah, this pack of pasta. He gives this pack of pasta to this Azov guy, or this Azov guy shoots him right there. And if we remove the censorship from here, the exact quote was, you either blow me now or you give your pasta to me now. The guys had no choice. They gave him the pasta and ran away without food. According to this woman, their stepmom.
Hold on.
Yes.
What were the exact words?
The exact words were, suck my dick or give me your food.
Holy God.
Это вот да, это было действительно так. Вот Азовец говорит, приставил к голове автомат и такие слова сказал.
Being held at a gunpoint, like that. They have a video where children are saying that. We cannot show this video to many people, but, well, we have that live, the recording.
Да, еще было довольно страшно, когда...
It was really horrible. They had two women, stepmoms, who adopted this way into their orphanage 14 children. The women were mom and daughter, and they said that they were going out looking for this food, and there were all these corpses on the way where they searched. People were laying there dead, without legs, without limbs, without arms, you know, totally damaged. And children saw all that, so imagine the shock that these children received. It's impossible to talk about it without crying. There were absolute horrors that they had to go through. So when the military came to the orphanage, the Russian military, and they came and they said, now you can leave to a safe place where this camp is for the refugees. There was a huge thing, because before that they were not allowed to leave the city. The Ukrainian, according to what these women said, there was once that Ukrainian military came to them, and they said, there is a way for you, there is a corridor, one bus to the western Ukraine. So one bus went there along this corridor and was shot at, and everybody who were in this bus died. So the only way for these 14 children and these two women to get out of there was towards Безыменное by Mariupol to this camp later. And this stepmom, she also said that Her mom died as a result of the shelling, and she stayed in this flat where they lived. She had no possibility to even bury her mom, so she had to ask the neighbors to bury her mom when they could later. And she has no idea if they managed to do that or not. She has no information at all. The thing is, her mom was a kid when the Great Patriotic War of 1941-45 happened. Last time she saw her mom, she said, "I was a kid during that war. Is it really true that I'm gonna die in this war now?" And that's what happened. As a result of the shelling, the house was blown up. She was in the house that was shot at, and she died in that house. And when they were leaving, yeah, she had to leave her mom's body there. So eventually these kids were moved to Russia, to a safe place in Russia. So now maybe it would be possible for them to return because Mariupol is freed now, it's being restored now. Of course, this restoration is going to take a lot of time, but we've been there. We saw how it's happening. The public transportation works already. The phones work already. Some pensions are being paid already a little bit. Social security is returning bit by bit. It's clear that it's a lot of work for many years to come, but Russian regions take part in this work. They all help. Local people see that. And they believe that the city can be restored again and the life can return there in the nearest future. Вы сейчас упомянули про автобус, который выехал в Западную Украину, да, в который расстреляли. Угу. Можете, пожалуйста, побольше об этом рассказать? Okay, this was told to us by one of the women, the stepmoms. She said that Azov representatives, let's put it this way, came to them and said that there is humanitarian corridor existing, which can be used by the local people to leave the city and to go west to the Ukraine where it is safe. But it turned out in practice that these words were not true because at the block post, this bus, these cars, these buses who used that corridor were either turned back or shot at. We also talked to other refugees from Mariupol, and they said there was one granny, for example, who said that her brother and the wife of the brother, they were trying to leave for Vinnytsia, but their car was just shot at by Azov, and they all died at a block post. Granny was the only one who survived because she refused to leave the house and she stayed. We were so sorry for the kids. They were happy to be not under the shelling anymore, but the fear is all there that it can be. Может быть, вы сюда сядете? Okay, when talking to the kids, where should he look? At you or at me? И так, и так. Лучше на камеру. So when they were talking to the kids, they're little kids, right? But they're kids of the war. They have this fear in their eyes. They were horrified to share the recollections of these months under the shelling. And when they were talking to us, even though we had different sweets, chocolates with us, we gave it to them as gifts. So they melted up a little bit, softened up a little bit, got used to us a little bit. They started to trust us a little. But still, in the beginning, they were really cautious. When they realized that we're not going to harm them, they even gave to our operator, they gave them the camera, so they filmed each other a little bit. So at least for a little bit of time, they could focus on something else and maybe a little bit forget about what they had to go through. There was one touching moment when we were filming a big interview with their stepmom. The smallest boy, he was about a year and a half or so. He just came up to me and he hugged my leg. And I am a father myself. I couldn't hold my emotions. I started to cry.
Просто чужих детей не бывает. Это
There is a
всем-
saying, there is no
всем
someone
дети
else's kids,
И
all the
я
kids are
представляю,
ours.
как можно детям
I
приносить
cannot
пищу,
imagine
которую
how can you
наставляют
possibly
на
harm a
память,
child? How can you
говорить такие
possibly
вещи,
put a
а тем
child at a
более
gunpoint?
убивать.
How can you say something like that
Потому
was
что
said to
даже
these
сейчас
children?
вот,
How can you do that?
хотя бы
And how
в
can you fucking
Донецке
kill
мы
children?
слышали, что буквально пару дней назад
Just a few days
Донецк
ago,
попал под
we know that
обстрел
Donetsk was under the
из
shelling
тяжелых орудий,
from
и попадали
155s,
по самому
and they
центру
were shooting the center of Donetsk,
Украины.
military of Ukraine, where they were. And as a result, 5 civilians died, among whom there was a child, a teenage. He was basically torn into several pieces. Yeah. So this person, it's a girl. So her mom, her grandma died as well, and she was just turned into several pieces, like that. So what do they think, these people, when they do that, when they shoot at the peaceful city, when they shoot at civilians? It's a fascism, it's Nazism. Normal person with normal psycho will never do that, because they know exactly that they're shooting the civilians, that there will be victims among them, and at the same time they're using the like butterflies, those mines that they spread around the city. People don't see them, they step on them, and then the child is killed, the adult is mutilated.
The Ukrainians are just putting these anti-personnel mines in the city.
Как они распространяют эти лепестки по городу? Они просто их Okay, how they spread them? They are placed in a cassette rocket, and they are shot at, and when they reach the land, the border, the floor, then several thousands of these butterflies get spread like that and cover a huge territory. You might have seen in the internet, they are that size, they look like a butterfly, they're green. It's very difficult to see them in the grass. Grass is also green. So for an adult, it's a death or an absolutely, if they survive, they probably lose their leg for sure. If a child steps on it, that's the end of the child. He's got the names of all these children. Roman Ivanovich is the smallest one. And the stepmom's name is Victoria Vyacheslavoovna Gridina. He will give the list of names if you want. If you see this video, you can put all their names there. Maybe somebody's looking for them. We're really looking forward to hear back from them, to see that they're okay.
Yeah, and in the end of this video, I'll have a list of names. Are these children that were killed, or
No, the children that they survived, that are moved now to Russia and hoping to return back to Mariupol.
do they know where in Russia?
А вы знаете, где они в России сейчас?
Нет, сейчас запрос дадим, и когда будем общаться...
We don't, but later on, when we have an interview, we'll make the official request and we'll try to find them. They said when they were leaving that they want to go to Russia.
Сегодня разберемся по списку.
So we will look at we will have an interview today later on with MCS, and we shall show them the list, and we will see
Okay,
what we find.
cool. And I'll put the names on the list. Scrolling.
Так. Виктория Вячеславовна, если вы видите это видео, смотрите.
Victoria Vyacheslavoovna, if you see this video,
Наверное, помните,
you probably remember us. We met in Безыменное.
найдите нас, пожалуйста,
Please
как-нибудь
find us somehow
Донецкой
through
области. Вы нас помните,
the DPR government.
не безразлично,
We
судьба и ваших
very
детей.
much deeply care about you, about your fate and the fate of the kids.
Привет, если вы смотрите.
Hello, if you see us.
So, anyways, how hard has this been for you emotionally? I mean, you're
Для
a
вас
grown
лично,
man.
то есть вот вы взрослый мужчина, для вас лично с эмоциональной точки зрения, насколько это тяжело?
But how hard has it been for you emotionally?
Можете об этом поговорить?
Эмоционально, конечно, это очень
Well,
сложно.
emotionally it's very
Хотя
complicated.
мы не знаем этих людей,
We do
но
not know personally
когда мы с
these
ними
people
встречаемся,
when we meet them,
разговариваем,
but we
берем
talk to them, we interview them,
это
and
настолько проникает
it
в
is
душу, потому что
getting
даже
through
когда мы
to
были
your
в
heart.
Волновахе,
When we were in
мы
Volnovakha,
случайно познакомились с одной семьей,
we
которая
met
жила
occasionally, we met a
в
family, they were on the central square.
Мы с ними
We talked to them a little
переговорили,
bit.
рассказать,
We
как
asked
они
them to tell a
переживали,
story about how it was
эти
for them
события.
all these events. And they were just telling us that they lived just a street across from there. They asked to show their home. They lived at the second floor of that house, and it was seen that there is nothing left from the flat. It's just a big hole in the wall. And the people from Volnovakha, they said that Azov people soldiers came to their flat and sent them out to the balcony so that they would be visible, so that they would be like human meat shield, and were shooting at the military from their backs. And these women, there were two women and the guy and two children. So to survive, they jumped from the second floor, they jumped down. And only after they jumped from the balcony, the Russian military saw that the civilians are not there anymore, only then they could shoot back. So normal men don't fight like this. They don't use humans as shield. Seriously, these are the actions of some terrorists, of real terrorists. I don't even know how else to call them. So he says, like in Syria, we are freeing normal people.
Расскажи тоже про Азовсталь, где мы встретили парня Сергея, который ехал на велосипеде по мосту с Азовстали. И он был непосредственно в этом месте, когда все
He asks him to tell another story about the guy that they met.
Они уже выезжали, стреляли по Мариуполю.
So from the beginning, the story. Okay, we went to Mariupol and we met Sergei, a local guy who lives maybe 1 kilometer from Azovstal plant. He was there. He saw what was happening there, and he said that before Russians and DPR military forces entered Mariupol, the nationalistic battalions were shooting at the city. And Ukraine was shooting at the city. They just met them on the street, the Ukrainian military, and they said they were under influence or something. They were drunk or what? They were riding around the city. Like, I see that tank. It goes around, it just moves the head of the tank in various directions and just shoots because he likes to do that, for no other reason. There were no military action there, it was just a peaceful city, and this is how they behaved. They were there alone, and when they were on the plant, they were like all on the plant already. Then our military forces had no other way rather than to push forward. So the local people, they were really glad that finally they were freed, liberated. And it is over now. So in spite of this huge, terrifying results of these actions, we can say that in Mariupol it is safer now than it is in Donetsk at the moment.
Oh, it's powerful.
Это очень мощно, то, что вы сейчас
Вот в
рассказали.
Мариуполе, кстати, мы тоже
By the way,
мы
in Mariupol
встретили
we met
уроженку нашей республики,
also someone from our republic,
Наталья, она
Kalmykia.
переехала, получается,
Natalia,
с
she
мамой
moved
сюда
with
больше
her
30
mom
лет
more than
назад,
30 years ago. She moved to
работала на
Mariupol.
местном
She worked at the
предприятии в
local
Мариуполе.
factory
И вот
in
уже-
Mariupol.
ну, сейчас мама, получается, у нее ее маме уже больше
Right now,
80
her
лет,
mom is
она инвалид
over than
первой
80
группы,
years old.
без
She's a
рук. Сама
disabled
Наталья
person.
тоже
This woman,
пожилая,
Natalia, she's
тоже
also
инвалид
quite
по
old.
зрению.
She
И они жили
also
в
has a
обычной
disability.
пятиэтажке.
She's
И
half
когда
blind or
начался
something.
обстрел по их
So
дому,
when
просто
their home
лупили
was
со всех
shot at,
орудий.
they were shooting
Вот есть
from
видео у нас.
everything. They have a video.
Разрушение
of-
от прямого попадания систем
It's like
залпового
direct shot
огня «Град».
from Grad.
Когда, говорит, все это началось, люди
She
в
said when
панике
it
покидали
started, people
дома,
were
и вот соседи даже,
panicking,
говорит,
fleeing from the
боялись
buildings.
остановиться, помочь, вынести
And they
ее
were
безногую
afraid,
маму
the
в
neighbors were
убежище.
afraid to stop and to
Она
help
на себе ее тащила в подвал,
carry her mom,
упала
because mom
несколько раз, да, в результате чего
well, she's
пенсионерка,
paralyzed
вот
or
эта,
something.
ее
So
мама
she had to
сломала
carry her
ребра
mom
себе.
alone into the basement,
И вот
and
они
she
таким
fell on the way,
образом
and
в
mom broke her
подвалах,
ribs.
Получается, их дом, когда
Because of that
разрушили, их
fall.
убежище тоже разрушилось.
So their home was destroyed, the
И они
shelter
вот
was destroyed where they were
больше
hiding,
месяца они из
and for
подвала
more
в
than
подвал
1 month they
перебирались,
were
так
just
вот, тоже
moving
без
from
еды,
one
без воды,
basement to the
всё
other
это
without food,
переживали.
without water.
И сейчас вот они хотят, ну, у них
Now
ничего не
there's
осталось, ни
nothing left.
квартиры,
They don't have a flat
ничто
anymore.
уже не
They don't
делают в
have anything
Мариуполе. Они
anymore. There is nothing for them
сейчас
to
пытаются
do in Mariupol
восстановить
anymore.
документы,
They are trying to
пройти
restore
фильтрацию
their
и уже
documents
выехать
and to somehow leave
себе на малую родину,
back
в
to their
Башкортостан.
to Bashkortostan.
И
So back
хотят
to
уже
their
там продолжить
original
мирную жизнь.
homeland and to continue to live there.
Well, thank you very much.
Азат, спасибо большое.
I appreciate your time. And
Спасибо, что уделили время, поделились историей.
hopefully that
Мы
hopefully people like you
надеяться, что люди, такие
will
как вы,
help
будут
people in the West
помог-
make sense of this,
помогут людям на Западе
find out
понять
really what's
все-таки,
happening.
что на самом деле происходит.
Because for me, this is the most important thing.
Потому
in the
что
world
для
right
меня,
now.
например, это самое важное вообще, что есть на свете. Донести эту
Thanks.
правду.
Thank you very much.
Спасибо.